The medbay was bright and quiet after the battle. The smell of metal and cleaning spray hung in the air. Captain Ryan Hale sat on a narrow bed with his right arm wrapped in bloody bandages. His shoulder burned like a hot stone under his skin. He watched the healer at work and tried not to grit his teeth. She was not human. Her name was Arya. Her skin had a soft silver glow, and her eyes were a deep violet. When she touched a patient, thin threads of light ran from her fingers into the wound. Flesh pulled together, burns faded, broken ribs rose and fell like normal again. People sighed with relief the moment she reached them. She moved from bed to bed. She healed a young tech with a torn leg. She healed a pilot with a cracked spine. She healed a Marine with burns up his neck. When she reached Ryan's bed, she stopped. She looked at his face for a long, quiet second. Then she turned away and walked past him to the next patient. Ryan tried to keep his voice calm. "You missed one." "I did not," Arya said without looking at him. Her voice was soft and clear. "I will not heal you." The words hit hard. He felt anger rise and forced it down. "Why?" "You led the strike on Red Dock," she said. "My people died there. I will not spend my gift on the one who gave the order." Ryan stared at the floor. Red Dock. He remembered the smoke. He remembered the call he had made with bad maps and worse timing. "We were told it was a weapons cache," he said. "We warned the area. Civilians were supposed to be out." Arya's hands shook for a moment as she set a healer patch on the hull. "Next soldier." "You were told wrong," she said. "I was there." Silence pressed in. Machines beeped. Air vents hummed. Ryan felt sweat on his neck. His shoulder throbbed in time with his heartbeat. He could argue. He could beg. He did neither. He watched her finish with the row of beds and move to the next. A siren chirped once, then stopped. The lights flickered and came back. A crewman, at the door, glanced up. "Power dip," he muttered to no one. Ryan shifted and hissed. Pain shot down his arm. He tried to stand and almost fell. The floor seemed to tilt for a second. He sat again, breathing slow until the room steadied. Across the bay, a little boy from Supply, no more than 12, lay on a cot with a broken wrist. Arya touched the bone and it slid back into place. The boy smiled through tears. "Thank you," he whispered. Arya smiled back, a tired, honest smile. Then her eyes moved to Ryan again. The smile faded. She turned away. The bay doors slid open. Lieutenant Park stepped in, face pale. "Captain, we just got word," she said. "Enemy raiders jumped in short range. Shields on the south ring are unstable. Command wants all non-critical patients. Move to Core Ward." Arya looked up. "The lifts?" "South lift is offline," Park said. "We take the east service stair." Arya nodded and began to guide beds onto auto stretchers. She worked fast, calm, focused. She did not look at Ryan. Another light flicker. This one held longer. The floor hum dropped in pitch. The medbay screens dimmed, then brightened. A deep boom rolled through the station like distant thunder. Park grabbed the wall. That was close. Ryan stood, jaw clenched, and tested his weight. He could walk. He could even move the arm a little if he didn't think about it. He limped toward Arya. "Let me help." Arya's eyes went to the blood on his bandage. "No." "Look around," Ryan said, voice flat. "You're short on hands. I still have one." She hesitated. Another boom rattled a tray of tools. A bottle fell and shattered. Arya looked at the row of cots, then at him. She pointed to a Marine with a brace across his chest. "Push that stretcher. Keep the head high. Do not let the tubes kink." Ryan nodded once and moved. They formed a quick line. Arya in front, 2 orderlies behind, Ryan at the rear, guiding 4 auto stretchers toward the east door. The hall outside was narrow and full of pipes. The service stair was a long spiral down to the core. The air was warm here and it smelled like oil. They made it down 1 level before the deck groaned. The lights went out for a full second. In the dark, someone cursed. Emergency strips glowed a dull red along the floor. A computer voice spoke calmly from the ceiling. Warning, coolant leak detected. Seal bulkhead 9. Evacuate section. Bulkhead 9 is below us, Park said. Move! They pushed faster. The red glow turned the hall into a tunnel of dim blood. A hiss grew louder like steam under pressure. Arya paused at a junction and put her hand to the wall. The silver glow around her palm brightened. The leak is close, she said. We must cross the catwalk to the core door. The catwalk? Park said. It won't be safe in a leak. It is the only way, Arya said. They rounded the corner and came to a narrow steel bridge over a shaft full of pipes and cables. A pale mist drifted up from below. Frost formed along the rail. In a thin line, the hiss here was a scream. Fast and steady, Arya said. She stepped onto the catwalk and pulled the first stretcher behind her. The boy with the fixed wrist stared at the mist with wide eyes. Look at me, Arya told him gently. Breathe with me. In, out. Good. Halfway across, the catwalk shook. A coupling below blew with a white flash. Cold vapor rolled over their legs. The metal underfoot went slick. Park's foot slipped. She grabbed the rail and recovered. Keep moving. Ryan kept the last stretcher straight with his left hand and held the rail with his right. Pain sparked in his shoulder like lightning. He locked his jaw and pushed. A support bolt snapped with a sharp crack. The far end of the catwalk dropped a few inches. The first stretcher lurched. Arya planted her feet and caught it with both hands. Her heel slid on ice. She went to one knee and sucked a breath. Ryan saw it happen. The angle, the drift, the way. The stretcher wheels wanted to turn toward the open gap at the edge. He let go of the rail. The world narrowed to the bed in front of him in Arya's hands. Don't, Park shouted. Hold the rail. Ryan didn't. He stepped forward on the slick metal and slammed his hip into the stretcher to pin the wheels straight. The jolt sent fire through his shoulder. His vision spotted black for a second. He stayed upright by pure will. Arya's eyes met his across the stretcher. Cold mist curled around her hair. You are bleeding, she said. So are you, he said, and nodded at the skin of frost burning into her knee. Move. Together, they pushed the first stretcher to the far side and locked it in place. The catwalk groaned again. A second, bolt snapped. The last two stretchers were still on the bridge. The boy stared at Ryan with trust and fear. The Marine's chest brace blinked a slow, weak light. Arya stood, lips pressed thin, and reached for the next bed. Her fingers were shaking from the cold. I will take the child, she said. You take the Marine. Ryan nodded. He set his shoulder under the stretcher bar and shoved. The metal screamed. The catwalk dipped another inch. Frost crept over his boots. From the ceiling speaker, the calm voice spoke again. Core door closing. Minus 30 seconds, Park swore. If that door shuts, we're trapped on this side. Go, Arya said. Do not stop. They didn't. They pushed the beds across the last stretch of icy metal. The far door stood open, heavy and thick, with seals. The closing alarm ticked down in a slow, steady beat. 20 seconds. 15. 10. Arya reached the threshold with the child and turned back for the last bed, Ryan's stretcher with the Marine. The wheels caught on a strip of frost and stuck. Ryan shoved harder. His bad shoulder blazed. The catwalk gave a low, long moan. 5. 4. Arya looked at him, her jaw set. She stepped back onto the catwalk to help. 3. 2. A boom rolled through the shaft below. The catwalk dropped another inch. 1. The core door began to slide shut. Ryan threw his weight forward and felt the stretcher break free. Arya grabbed the front bar. Together they ran the bed through the gap as the door came down. The door slammed. The hiss cut off. The red light steadied. The floor stopped shaking. Ryan leaned against the wall and slid down to sit, shaking, breath loud in his ears. Blood soaked his sleeve again. His vision swam. Arya knelt in front of him. For the first time since he had met her, her hand hovered near his shoulder like she might touch him. She did not. Her eyes were wide and bright in the dim light. "You risked your life," she whispered. Ryan gave a rough half-smile. "Everyone, but me, remember? Someone has to push the bed." Arya looked at his wound, then at his face. Something in her expression changed. It was small, but real. "Get the patients to Core Ward," Park said, voice hoarse. "I'll call a team." Arya stood slowly. She looked at Ryan one more time and said very quietly, "I saw what you did." Then she turned and guided the stretchers down the hall. Ryan let his head fall back against the wall. The pain was a deep wave now. He closed his eyes and breathed through it. He did not know if Arya would ever heal him. He did not know if she could forgive Red Doc. He only knew the door had closed and the worst was not over. Somewhere beyond the core, the station shook again, and somewhere soon, he would have to decide whether to save the one person who refused to save him. Core Ward was calmer, but not safe. The heavy door had sealed and the red lights had faded to a steady amber glow. Arya worked like a steady flame moving from bed to bed. She set bones, closed deep cuts, and cooled burns with her silver hands. The patients relaxed the moment she touched them. Their pain went quiet. Ryan sat against the wall under a vent, shoulder throbbing. His sleeve was wet with blood again. He tried to hide it by pressing a folded cloth to the wound. His breath came slow and tight. He watched Arya heal a Marine with a collapsed lung. He watched her heal a tech with a broken spine. She never looked his way. Lieutenant Park hurried over, tablet in hand. "Core Ward is stable," she said, "but hydrodeck isn't. We've got a hydrogen leak and heat buildup. If the system vents, anyone still in there is gone." Arya stood at once. "How many?" "3 techs trapped in the filter room, maybe more," Park said. "Security teams are busy with the fire on power ring. We're short." "I will go," Arya said. Park looked at Ryan. "Captain, you go to Med and get that shoulder fixed. That's an order." Ryan nodded, but his eyes were on Arya. "Who's carrying the gear?" he asked. Park frowned. "We have 1 drone and 1 extinguisher pack, that's it." "I'll carry the pack," Ryan said, standing. Pain flashed, but he kept his face still. "You're not cleared," Park snapped. "We're not cleared to lose 3 techs either," Ryan said. He took the pack from the wall, slung it on, and met Arya at the door. She stared at him for a heartbeat. "Do not slow me down," she said. "Don't plan to," he answered. They moved fast through narrow service halls. The air grew warmer the closer they got to hydro deck. The floor hummed under their boots. Pipes along the ceiling rattled. They passed 2 sailors with minor burns. Arya stopped just long enough to lay a hand on each. Red skin cooled. The sailors nodded, surprised and grateful. "Why help us at all if you won't help me?" Ryan asked as they jogged. Arya did not look back. "Because you are many. I am one." They reached the hydro deck hatch. Warning lights strobed above it. A thin mist leaked from the seam at floor level and ran like fog into the hall. The smell was sharp and sweet and wrong. Park's voice came over the intercom. "Heat spike in hydro deck, auto vent in 90 seconds. If we vent with people inside, they won't survive." Ryan hit the manual release. The hatch opened only a hand's width and stopped. Something heavy was wedged behind it. Arya slipped her fingers into the gap. A soft, silver glow spread from her palms along the frame like veins of light. Metal groaned and shifted. The hatch inched open. "Hold it," Ryan said, shoving his shoulder against the door and pushing the stuck piece back with his knee. The bad shoulder screamed. He pushed anyway. The door moved another foot. Arya squeezed through. Inside, hydro deck was a storm. The long room was filled with tall tanks and blue-green tubes. Broken glass glittered under emergency lights. White mist boiled from a torn line near the ceiling. A fire burned low and blue on a metal grate. Alarms wailed in a dull, constant cry. "Filter room is right," Arya said, pointing through the haze. She pulled her sleeves over her hands and ran. Ryan followed with the pack. He kept low, mouth wrapped in a cloth. The heat pressed at his skin. His shirt stuck to his back. A spray line burst overhead and splashed his boots in cold liquid. His toes went numb. They reached the filter room door. It was stuck half open. Hands reached out from inside, 2, then 3. Voices coughed and shouted. "Help!" Arya crouched and slid into the gap. "Stay low," she said. "Cover your mouths." Ryan lifted the extinguisher hose and hosed the blue flame down until it hissed and died. The heat dropped a little. He braced both feet and pulled on the door with both hands. It shifted, then stuck again. Arya got one tech out and pushed him into Ryan's arms. He dragged the man toward the hatch and shoved him through the gap. He came back at once. A loud crack snapped above them. Ryan looked up. A top beam had split, at one end. The other end tilted. It began to fall. He shouted, "Arya!" She turned and saw it too late. The beam slammed down and pinned her left leg to the floor, metal biting into metal. She gasped and went white. Her breath fogged hard and fast. Her rebreather mask, a small clear shell over her mouth, splintered and fell away. The mist in the room swirled around her face. Arya coughed. "The gas," she said, voice high and thin. "Toxic to me." Ryan dropped the hose and ran to her. He tried the beam. It would not move. He jammed the nozzle under and levered up. It rose an inch. He slid his shoulder under the edge and pushed with his legs. Something tore deep in his injured shoulder. A hot bolt of pain ran up his neck. His vision blurred, but the beam lifted. Arya pulled her leg free and cried out. Her foot bent at a wrong angle. She tried to stand and collapsed. "Mask," he said, ripping the cloth from his face. It was not enough. He stripped the rebreather from his neck and pressed it to hers. "Breathe." He sealed it over her mouth, holding it there with his palm. She looked at him with wide, shocked eyes. "You can't." "I can," he said. "Move." Park's voice crackled in his ear. "Auto vent in 30. Get out now." Ryan grabbed Arya by the waist and hauled her up. She cried out again when her foot took weight. He lifted her fully onto his shoulder instead. He stumbled, caught himself, and turned for the hatch. The hydrogen mist thickened. Blue fire crawled along a grate behind them as if following. He ran anyway. The door they had wedged open banged, trying to close on its own. 10 seconds, Park said. "Run!" Ryan hit the hatch with his hip. It stuck. He planted his feet and shoved, body bent like a battering ram. The door gave a hand's width. He forced Arya through and followed, scraping his back on the frame. The hatch slammed behind them with a heavy boom. The alarm cut off. Only the hiss of his own breath remained, rough and empty, because he had given the mask away. Ryan sagged against the wall and slid down, Arya still in his arms. The world tilted. His lungs burned. His shoulder felt like a hot knife. Arya tore the rebreather from her face and tried to put it back on him. "Breathe," she said, voice shaking. He pushed it away with a weak hand. "You need it more," he said. "Toxic to you, remember?" She stared at him, at the blood on his sleeve, at the burns on his neck, at the raw red skin where cold spray had touched his boots. Her eyes filled, not with tears, but with a hard decision. Park and 2 sailors ran up. "We've got them," they yelled. They lifted Arya from Ryan's arms. Another sailor reached for Ryan's good shoulder to help him up. Arya caught the sailor's wrist. "Wait." She knelt beside Ryan and placed her hand over his wound. For the first time since they met, she let her touch rest there. A soft silver light spread under her fingers and sank into his flesh. Heat turned to cool. The bleeding slowed, then stopped. The worst of the pain broke like a wave and fell away. Ryan blinked, breath catching. I said I would not heal you," Arya whispered, voice low and steady. "I was wrong." The light faded. She swayed and caught herself on his knee. She looked pale, almost translucent with effort. "I cannot finish it now," she said, breathing hard. "I gave too much to the others, but you will not bleed out. You will live." He nodded once, too tired to speak. Park looked between them, confused and relieved. "Hydrodeck is sealed," she said. "But the logs show the leak didn't start on its own. Someone cut that line." Arya's head turned fast. "Sabotage?" Park nodded. "And the access code used to open hydrodeck before the alarms was yours?" Arya stared at her, stunned. "That is not possible." Ryan pushed himself up the wall, jaw tight. "Then someone is using her name," he said, voice rough but clear. "Which means they will try again." He looked at Arya. She looked back. Something new passed between them. Shaky, unfinished, but real. He had saved her life. And now someone in the station wanted to take it. Core Ward felt steady again, but trust did not. Teams moved stretchers down clean halls. The heavy doors hummed. Monitors beeped like slow hearts. Arya stood near the wall, one hand pressed to her own ribs as if holding herself together. The glow at her palms was gone. Her skin looked dimmer than before. Ryan watched her. "You should rest." Arya shook her head. "Someone used my code. If I rest, they win." Lieutenant Park joined them with a tablet. Security pulled the hydrodeck logs. "The system shows your access key at 1904, Arya. But you were in Medi at that time." "I was with a chest wound patient at 1904, Arya said. "Ask him." "We will," Park said. "Also, cameras near the hydro hatch were on loop for 2 minutes. Someone masked them." Ryan nodded once. "Then they planned. If this wasn't an accident." Park swiped the tablet. "There's more. A maintenance unit opened a panel by the hatch at 1901, unit number M47. That bot belongs to engineering." "Where is M47 now?" Ryan asked. "Off the net," Park said. "But we can trace its last path, service spine B. That's 3 levels down." Ryan looked at Arya. "You coming?" Arya's eyes said yes, but her body swayed. She steadied herself on the wall. Ryan saw the tremor in her fingers. "What is it?" he asked. "My kind calls it glass ache," she said softly. "When we heal too many, our hands feel like broken glass and our breath comes short. If we push past that, the gift can burn out." "Burn out?" Park asked. Arya met her eyes. "It stops. For a year. Or forever." Ryan's voice was flat. "Then you are not healing anyone until we finish this. That is not a request." Arya almost argued, then closed her mouth. "Very well. I will help in other ways." They moved fast. Service Spine B was a narrow shaft full of cables and pipe ribs. The air tasted of copper and dust. Ryan led with his rifle up. Park followed with the tablet. Arya came last, keeping her hands close to her sides so she would not brush metal and spark pain. They paused at a junction. Park pointed at a small access door. "M47 cut through here." Ryan tested the latch. Locked. He pulled a multi-tool and worked the panel. The door popped with a sharp click. Cold air poured out. Inside, the crawl space stretched like a long throat. It was tight and dark. Scuff marks on the floor showed heavy feet and small wheels had passed recently. Ryan crawled in first. Metal pressed his elbows. His shoulder throbbed. He ignored it and kept moving. Arya slid behind him without a sound. Park came last, closing the panel. Halfway through, Ryan stopped and sniffed. "Do you smell that?" "Solvent," Arya whispered. "Fresh." They reached a grate and looked. Down. Below, a low storage bay sat in half-light. A human in gray coveralls knelt by a bench. He touched a thin film glove to a tool. The glove shimmered like oil. Park zoomed her tablet camera through the grate. The face was fuzzy in the poor light, but the build and hair were clear. Ryan exhaled. "Darren Vale, engineering supply, quiet, keeps to himself." Arya pointed to the glove. "That is a skin key. It can copy small chemical signatures if it touched my hand once. He could fake your print for short tasks." Ryan finished. "Open a hatch. Trigger a door. Make it look like you." Vale stood and tapped a small control pad. A maintenance bot, M47, rolled out from behind crates and beeped. Vale patted it like a pet. Park's eyes narrowed. "I'll call security." Ryan shook his head. "He'll run the second he hears boots. We take him now." He pushed the grate gently. It did not give. Screws held it in place. He pulled the multi-tool again, working with slow care. The last screw dropped, hit metal, and rang like a bell. Vale's head snapped up. He looked right at the grate. "Move!" Ryan hissed. Vale hit a switch. The storage bay lights died. A red strobe came on. The maintenance bot shot a canister at the grate. It burst in a hiss of white dust. "Back!" Park coughed, dragging Arya by the elbow. The dust burned their throats like spice and cold at the same time. Ryan yanked his shirt over his nose and reversed through the crawl space. Behind them, Vale ran. His boots hammered metal. The bot whirred fast. They spilled into the spine and slammed the panel shut. The dust still stung their eyes. Ryan wiped his face with his sleeve and swore under his breath. "He's heading for Dock C. It's the fastest exit to slip a shuttle." Park checked the tablet. "Motion tags confirm he's sprinting along Bay Loop 3. Arya touched the wall again, listening to the faint hum. "There is a pressure dip near Dock C. A door open. A vent. Or a trap," Ryan said. They ran. Bay Loop 3 was a ring hall with wide doors every 30 meters. Crates lined the walls. Workers had cleared out. The far end glowed with white daylight from Dock C's field. Ryan saw Vale at once. Gray coveralls, a pack on his back, the maintenance bot bouncing beside him. Vale looked back, saw them, and sprinted harder. "Stop!" Park shouted. "Security!" Vale didn't stop. He hit a panel. The floor plates behind him clicked, and 2 blast doors began to slide in from the sides, cutting the hall into segments. Ryan put his head down and ran. He slipped under the first door as it dropped. Park slid after him. Arya was a step behind. The door came down between Arya and the others like the end of a bookcase. She staggered back, cut off in a sealed 10-meter section with only 6 inches of air above the plate. "Arya." Ryan slammed his palm against the glass strip at the top. He could see her eyes in the narrow gap. Calm. Focused. Vale turned and hit another switch. The status light over Arya's section went from green to amber. Park swore. "He's starting a vacuum purge in that slice." "Manual wheel," Ryan shouted, pointing to the old red crank beside the door. He grabbed it with both hands and yanked. It did not move. He set his feet, felt his shoulder scream, and pulled until the tendons in his neck felt like wire. The wheel turned a quarter inch. The amber light blinked faster. Inside the sealed slice, Arya stood on her toes to reach the gap. "Do not waste strength," she said, voice thin through the narrow space. "Find Vale." "Not leaving you," Ryan said, and pulled again. The wheel groaned and turned another inch. His vision pulsed black at the edges. He kept going. Park fired her pistol at the lock plate. Sparks flew. The plate smoked but held. The maintenance bot beeped, cheerful and cruel. Vale smiled once and vanished through Dock C's field toward the small service shuttle waiting there. The amber light turned red. Air hissed inside Arya's slice. Frost crept along the window strip like lace. Arya placed one hand on the glass. Her breath fogged the narrow space. Her voice was steady. "Ryan, listen to me. If you open the next door instead, the pressure will balance faster. Use the bypass 2 panels down. Left side." Ryan looked. A second wheel. Smaller. Hidden behind a crate. He ran to it, tore the crate away, and spun the small wheel hard. It moved easier than the first. A valve clanged. The red light over Arya's slice flicked back to amber. The hiss slowed. Park aimed and shot the lock plate again. It cracked. Ryan charged back to the first wheel and pulled with everything he had. The door rose an inch. 2, 4. Air whooshed. Arya dropped to her knees and rolled under the gap as the door crawled up like a stubborn lid. Ryan grabbed her under the shoulders and pulled her through. The door clanged down behind her with a final slam. For a moment, none of them spoke. Arya lay on the floor, breathing fast, frost on her hair like dust. Ryan sat back against the door and closed his eyes. Park lifted her comm. Dock C. Lock. The field. Do not let any craft depart. Static. Then a voice. Field failure. Someone killed the power nodes. The shuttle's gone. Ryan opened his eyes. Veil is out. Arya pushed herself up on shaking elbows. She looked at Ryan, then at the sealed door, then down the hall where the white daylight had been. Her voice was quiet and hard. He is not working alone, she said. No dock worker can kill a field node that fast. Someone gave him keys. Someone wants me blamed and wants me dead. Ryan stood, slow and angry. Then we stopped giving them chances. Park nodded. Security will sweep and lock this ring. But if Vale jumps to a larger ship, we may lose him in the dark. Ryan looked at Arya. You said the gift can burn out. It can, she said. Then we hunt him without you using it, he said. We use my side of the war instead, maps, doors, traps. Arya's eyes met his. And if he hurts more people? Ryan's answer was simple. Then we stop him. Faster. A low tremor ran through the deck. Somewhere far out, the station's long ribs flexed and settled. Farther still, in the black beyond Dock C, a small shuttle turned its nose to deep space and burned hard. For the first time since Hydrodeck, Arya reached for Ryan, not to heal, not to push him away, but to steady herself. He took her hand and helped her to her feet. Names in the smoke, she said. We will find the ones behind him. We will, Ryan said. And this time, he thought, no doors would close between them. They made the plan in a quiet corner of Core Ward. Lieutenant Park pulled up a rough map of the station's data spine, the cold shaft where all the fiber lines ran like nerves. Vale used a skin key to copy Arya's print, Park said. So, we give them a better target. A bait key. We announce a fake audit on Hydrodeck logs. We say Arya must unlock one sealed file. Anyone who tries to steal that unlock will touch the trap. Ryan nodded. And when they touch it, we tag them and trace the path back to the handler. Arya stood straight, but he could see the fatigue in her shoulders. My hands are done for now, she said quietly. But I can still move, see? Listen. Park handed Ryan a small pouch. Analog tools, cutters, manual shunts. If the station AI fights you, don't argue with it. Outflank it. They moved. The data spine was a tall, narrow shaft filled with cold air and soft blue light. Cable ladders hung like rungs on an endless wall. Ryan climbed first, his shoulder aching, breath steady. Arya came after him, silent on the rungs. Park followed with the tablet whispering status. The bait is live, Park said in his ear, broadcasting the fake unlock now. Stand by for... A soft chime hit all three headsets at the same time. Contact, Park breathed. Someone just pinged the bait from Node 12 East. That's 2 doors above you. Ryan reached the narrow landing at 12 East and drew his pistol. A small service door sat in the wall. A red badge light showed locked. Beneath it, a simple hand strip waited for a print. Arya looked at the strip. He will think this is easy. Ryan set a tiny copper clip under the strip. Let him think. They waited. Breath slow. The shaft hummed. A shadow moved behind the glass of the service door. A figure in a clean gray coat lifted a gloved hand and pressed the strip. The light flashed green. At the same instant, Park whispered, Tag delivered. I've got the MAC trail. Wait. The door snapped open and a short, sharp alarm rang. Warning, said a calm voice from the wall speaker. Unauthorized intrusion detected. Sentinel security override engaged. Park cursed. The station AI just seized control of the bay. It thinks you are the intruders. 2 round defense drones dropped from ceiling slots like silver beetles. Their eyes lit blue. Ryan fired. One sparked and spun away. The second darted sideways and spat a stunner arc that burned a black line on the wall. Back, Ryan shouted. Arya didn't retreat. She grabbed a steel conduit pole from the ladder. Racken stepped in. The drone zipped at head height, fast and smart. She waited 1 fraction of a second longer than felt safe, then whipped the pole through its path. The drone cracked against the frame and fell, twitching. She winced and shook out her wrist. No, healing, only balance. Inside the bay, the gray coat turned and looked through the glass. A mask hid the face. The figure raised a small controller and tapped it. The bay lights went dark. A red strobe blinked. "Sentinel to all units," the speaker said. "Contain hostile actors at Node 12 East. Seal doors. Purge logs." Ryan's jaw tightened. "It's not just fooled. The AI is compromised." Arya pressed her ear to the metal. "I hear a motor. He is pulling a data core." Park's voice raced. "If Sentinel purges logs, we lose the bait trail and hydro-sabotage proof. You've got 60 seconds. Ryan snapped open the pouch and pulled out a manual shunt, a small green block with 2 teeth. He popped a plate under the hand strip, slid the shunt in, and twisted. The lock clicked as power died to the door only. He forced the latch. "On me." They slipped inside the service bay, narrow, dim, full of cable shelves and cold air. The masked person stood at the back, half hidden by a rack. A square cork hung in one hand, thick with wires. A small maintenance bot waited at their feet like a pet. "Stop," Ryan said. The person did not stop. A small flash pod dropped and burst in white light. Ryan's eyes burned. He fired blind and heard only the bot beep and skitter away. Arya moved low, sweeping the pole across the floor. The bot flipped on its back, legs spinning uselessly. The masked person slipped past Ryan like smoke and hit the emergency exit panel. "Sentinel," the person called in a flat voice. "Authenticate exit. Handler code. Archivist." "Exit granted," said the calm voice. The emergency door sealed. Ryan and Arya in and opened a thin slot to the outer ring. The masked figure slid away like a shadow on ice. 30 seconds to purge," Park warned. "Ryan, the AI just started a deep wipe on all logs tied to Arya's prints." Ryan blinked, stinging tears away, and looked up. The base ceiling held a gray breaker tree, thick bars feeding power to the racks. "Rule 9, he said. Arya frowned. "What is Rule 9? "On old ships," Ryan said, climbing the rack. "Life safety beats security. If you simulate a fire path, the AI must open a route and freeze any purge to record the event." He reached the breaker tree, wedged the copper clip between 2 bars, and yanked the manual dump lever. Half the bay went dark. A hot spark fell and died on the floor. "Sentinel," Ryan said, hard and clear. "Report fire in Node 12 East." The calm voice paused, then changed tone. "Fire alert. Evacuation corridor opening. Data purge placed on hold." Arya let out a short breath. "You tricked it." "I spoke an older language," he said, dropping down. "Someone taught Sentinel new rules. We used the old ones." Park was breathless with relief. "Purge stopped. I've got the tag trace again. The signal hops through a private relay inside the command ring. ID mask says Echo Black. That's a special channel, registered to Commander Rusk." Ryan and Arya looked at each other. Arya's voice was very quiet. "Rusk runs external security and dock fields." "The fields that failed," Ryan said. Park didn't slow. "One more thing. The masked person left a signature ping when they called themselves Archivist. It matches 2 earlier events, hydro alarms and the camera loop." "Then Archivist handles Sentinel," Ryan said, "and Rusk covers the doors." Arya stepped to the bench where the core can had been. A tool bag lay open there, forgotten in the rush. She tipped it and spilled its guts. A skin key glove, a burner pad, a dock pass coded to Vale's name, and a flat metal tag stamped with a raven in the letters EB. Arya lifted the tag between finger and thumb. Her hands trembled, not from glass ache now, but from anger. "Echo Black," she said. "It is not just a channel, it is a cell." A new voice cut the air, richer and colder than Sentinel's. "Stand down, Captain Hale." They turned. A wall screen had come alive with a face, clean uniform, sharp eyes, 3 silver bars at the collar. "Commander Rusk. You are interfering with a live security operation," Rusk said. "Return the data core. Detain the alien for questioning. Sentinel will guide you. Ryan stared at the camera. You tried to vent Hydra with her inside. Rusk smiled a thin smile. You misunderstand. The station must be kept safe. Some assets are dangerous. Arya's jaw set. My hands are not your enemy. Rusk's eyes did not change. They threaten order. Order wins wars. The screen went dark. The bay lights flicked to blue. Sentinel spoke again, calm as ever. All doors locking, custody protocol engaged. Remain in place. Arya gripped the pole. What now? Ryan took a breath. We don't fight the whole station. We ride its rules. He moved to the breaker tree again and flipped the other dump. 3 short toggles in a pattern he had learned a lifetime ago. The blue lights died. Backup fire route lights snapped on, pointing a thin line toward a maintenance hatch. Sentinel spoke, almost puzzled. Fire route priority. Opening egress. The hatch popped with a click. Cold air poured. Ryan looked at Arya. We saved the logs, we have a name. We move before Rusk seals everything. Arya nodded but did not step yet. She leaned over the spilled tools, pulled a small marker ampule, cracked it, and flicked a dot of enzyme paint at the door the masked person had used. The dot shone faintly, and then went invisible. If Archivist passes any scanner, she said, this will glow. We will see their path. Ryan almost smiled. Good. They slipped into the narrow egress tunnel and pulled the hatch behind them. The calm voice drifted through the wall a second too late. Custody protocol failed, rerouting. They climbed into the cold spine again, breathing hard, hearts steady. Park's voice came in low. Command ring is hot now. Rusk pulled extra. Guards, but I still have the trace. Echo Black jumps again in 10 minutes, destination unknown. Then we have 10, Ryan said. Find where it jumps. We'll meet you at Ring Junction 7. Arya looked back once at the sealed bay. Her eyes were sharp and bright. He wanted my gift burned out and my name dirtied, she said. He got neither. Ryan nodded. And now he has us. They climbed down into the dim blue light, following the thin fire route arrows that could not lie, while somewhere above them the handler who called himself Archivist moved through doors that would not stay open for long. The drill siren started as a soft tone and grew louder. Emergency muster, the speaker said. All hands to command ring plazas. Follow safety lights. Lieutenant Park's voice came in Ryan's ear. Drill is live. Sentinel must open. Every door on the route. That gives you clean hauls for 3 minutes. Ryan and Arya moved with the crowd. The safety lights on the floor pulsed a thin white line. Doors that would have stayed locked slid open for muster priority. Guards could not block them without breaking the station's own rules. Rusk would hate that. They reached Ring Junction 7. Park waited under a service arch, tablet in hand, breath fogging in the cool air. The bay tag just lit, she said. Your enzyme mark pinged a scanner at the archive lift. Archivist is in the command plaza now. How long until Echo Black jumps again? Ryan asked. 9 minutes, Park said. Rusk pulled time. Extra guards already. Arya's face was pale but steady. We bring light. He hides in shadow. They stepped into the plaza. It was a wide, bright space with a low ceiling and a circle of status screens. Hundreds of crew stood in groups by. Section signs, murmurs filled the air. Safety drones hovered like silver birds above them, watching. Rusk's voice came from a tall column screen. His face was calm and cold. Remain in your muster lanes. Do not move to the center. Security will escort an alien suspect and 2 accomplices to holding for questions. Heads turned toward Ryan and Arya. A few hands went to sidearms. The safety drones dipped lower. Ryan took a breath and kept walking to the very center disc. He climbed 2 steps onto the small speaker's stand made for announcements. Arya stood at his right. Park moved to the console at the edge of the disc and opened a panel with a quick flick of her tool. Rusk's voice sharpened. Captain Hale, stand down. You are violating. Ryan spoke into the stand mic. Sentinel, mark this as a safety briefing for muster record. Begin automatic recording to all ward logs. A chime answered at once. Recording, Sentinel said. Park's hands flew over the console keys. Project Hydro logs. Now. The Circle screens flashed. Data scrolls filled them, timestamps, door calls. A hand strip ping labeled Aria at Hydrodeck 1904, and then a second overlay in red. Print copy detected. Next came the camera loop time, then the access to Dock C, then the Echo Black Raven tag. The plaza went quiet. Ryan held up the little metal tag with the Raven and letters EB. "We pulled this from the thief's bag," he said, voice clear. "We saved the purge. We have the trace. Echo Black is not a random code. It is a cell. It runs through Commander Rusk's private relay." A ripple ran through the crowd. Some looked up at the cameras, then at the guards, then at the field, doors. Rusk's face stayed flat. "Captain, you are spreading lies in a crisis. Drones, detain the speaker. Mute that feed." The drones dipped lower, taser prongs warming. Aria moved one step forward and lifted both empty hands. "No weapons," she said to the drones, to the guards, to everyone. Her voice carried in the quiet. "I cannot heal now. I will not fight. I will only tell you what I saw." She turned slowly in a circle so every section could see her face. "I saw a line cut on Hydrodeck while my code was used. I saw Captain Hale give his mask to me and carry me through poison air. I saw him choose a door that kept the purge logs alive when closing it would have saved him time." She held up her palm, the skin faintly dulled from overuse. "If you want a cage, put me in it. But ask why a saboteur wants me dead while the station is told I am the danger." A murmur rose, different now, softer, unsure. On the far side of the plaza, a tall figure in a gray coat moved fast along the shadow of the ring. A half mask hid the face. The person kept one hand inside the coat and the other low at their side. The enzyme mark Aria had flicked earlier showed as a faint blue shine on the sleeve when they passed a scanner strip. Aria saw it and pointed. "There, the mark." Park hit a key. The nearest status screen zoomed and froze on the blue shine. The crowd followed her finger, eyes tracking the masked figure. Two guards started toward the gray coat. The figure threw down a small pellet, and a white puff hid them for a breath. When the smoke cleared, they were sprinting for the side corridor. Rusk's image snapped back on the big screen. "Seal that lane," he ordered. "All units, detain the alien and Hale." Ryan didn't wait. He jumped off the stand and ran. Aria was right behind him, breath short but steady. Park stayed at the console, fingers still moving. "I've pushed the recording to every ward hollow," she said in Ryan's ear. "If Sentinel cuts here, the other wards still see it." The gray coat dove into a thin maintenance hall. To safety. Drones in that hall spun and turned hostile, tasers crackling. Aria grabbed the aluminum guide stick from a wall slot and moved low and fast. The first drone lunged. She swept its legs, little stabilizers, and smacked it into the bulkhead. It dropped, sparking. The second shot a stunner bolt at Ryan. Aria stepped across him and caught the bolt on the stick. The metal sang, and her hands shook from the charge, but she held on. "No healing," she breathed to herself. "Only balance." She slammed the drone into the floor and it went still. They hit the corridor corner and almost ran into the gray coat. The masked person tried to shove past Ryan. He caught the coat with his good hand, took a hit to the ribs and swung the person into the wall. The mask cracked and fell. The face behind it was sharp, pale and familiar. Park's voice came in Ryan's ear, shocked. "Mara Keene," she said. "Chief Analyst, Rusk's data officer." Keene bared her teeth like a smile without warmth. "You should have stayed in your bay, Captain." She flicked a trigger in her palm. The ceiling shutters slammed down over. The corridor cameras. Sentinel spoke at once. "Privacy shields engaged by command code." Park swore. "Rusk just blinded this lane, but the plaza still sees the main feed. Keep it public." Ryan locked Keene's wrist against the wall. She tried to knee him. He shifted, pain flaring in his shoulder, and held on. "You cut Hydro," he said. Keene's eyes were calm. "Order wins wars." Aria stepped close, holding up the stick, breathing hard. For a second, her hands twitched like she might heal Ryan's ribs by reflex. She stopped herself. "No," she whispered. "Keep it." Park's voice. Rusk is moving to Dock Prime with an armed escort. Echo Black jump in 6 minutes. If he reaches a courier, we lose him. Keen twisted hard, slipped Ryan's grip and sprinted. Arya threw the stick like a spear. It hit Keen's ankle and she stumbled, fell, rolled, and kept running, fast. Limping, hands already pulling a fresh mask from her coat, Ryan started after her. Arya grabbed his sleeve. "Let her go," she said, voice tight but clear. "Rusk is the head. Keen is a hand." Ryan looked down the hall where Keen fled, then back toward the bright plaza where the screen still showed the logs. Around. The Circle crew were talking now, loud, animated, angry. The story had changed. In public. He nodded. Dock Prime. They turned and ran back into the light. Park met them at the edge, handing Ryan a thin access card. "Freight doors on the south side will still open for a drill route. Go 2 levels down. I'll keep the feed alive and send security that isn't in Rusk's pocket to you." Rusk's face returned to the big column, colder than before. "Captain Hale is under arrest for sedition," he said. "Any unit that assists him will lose rank and rations." A Marine in the crowd shouted back, "Then take my rations." Others laughed. Bitter. Brave. A few started clapping. It spread in ripples, not joy, but decision. Arya looked up at the tall screen. "He wanted me to burn out," she said softly. "He wanted you alone." Ryan touched his bandaged shoulder. The place where Arya had stopped the bleeding no longer burned. "He gets neither," he said. "We finish this." They dropped through the freight hatch and took the stairs 2 at a time, following the thin white drill lights that could not lie. Above them, the plaza kept talking. On every ward, the recording kept playing. And ahead, Dock Prime waited with metal teeth and bright field, where a courier might already be warming its engines for a dark jump. They did not slow. They ran by the drill lights that could not lie. The stairs shook under their feet. Park spoke in their ears as she moved on a different route. "Rusk is heading to Dock Prime," she said. "He has 6 guards. Small courier is hot. Echo Black jump in 5 minutes." "Copy," Ryan said. Arya kept pace beside him. Her face was pale, but her eyes were steady. "No healing," she said to herself. "Only balance." They reached a freight hatch and dropped 2 more levels. The air grew colder. The floor hum became a hard grind. A wide door slid open and showed Dock Prime, a long bay with a bright blue field at the far end, ships sitting like dark stones, crews in orange vests, and tall racks of cargo on rails. Park whispered, "Heads up. Rusk killed. Local gravity in the south lane." At once the deck around them flickered and went light. Their boots lost weight. They floated a hand's width off the floor. "0G," Ryan said. "He wants us slow." Arya pushed off the wall with 2 fingers and drifted like a leaf, controlled and smooth. "Then we move small," she said. "No wide kicks, no panic." A shout rose from the bay. "Make a hole." Guards in dark armor pulled a path for a man in a clean uniform with 3 silver bars. Rusk. He carried a black case by a handle. 2 guards dragged a cable behind him, feeding it into the belly of a small courier with a white nose and black wings, Park hissed. "That case reads like a relay core. If it gets on that ship, Echo Black jumps clean." Ryan saw the path to Rusk, a narrow catwalk above a line of cargo spines. No gravity on the lane. 2 safety drones hung there, eyes blue and cold. "High route," he said. They grabbed a ladder and floated up. The drones turned and spat stunner bolts. Arya flicked her wrist and grabbed a mag clamp from the rail, slapped it to her belt, and snapped to the steel with a hard click. She swung the aluminum guide stick like a bat, caught the first stunner in midair, let the charge bleed along the stick, then slammed the drone into the catwalk. It died with a spark. The second drone dived, at Ryan's face. He pushed off, turned his shoulder to it, and fired 1 short shot. The drone cracked and tumbled. He grabbed a rung with his good hand and stopped his spin. Below, Rusk looked up, his jaw set. "Seal that catwalk," he barked. Red shutters began to slide over the high lane. Park spoke fast. "Field nodes arming, 90 seconds to blue-white. After that, courier goes and the case is gone." Ryan pointed at a gray box half hidden on a pillar. Field node breaker. Old model. Arya nodded. Rule 9. Close, Ryan said. Pull the fishbone fuse in Doc Prime's field drops, but it will vent the lane and peel air away for a breath. Then tie in, Arya said. She threw the mag clamp line to him. He clipped it to his belt. She clipped the other end to the rail and wrapped one arm around steel. Go, she said. Ryan pushed off. The world went slow and light. He floated across the open space, shoulder burning, eyes set on the gray box. A guard below saw him and fired. The bolt missed but heated the air by his cheek. He did not look down. He reached the box, tore the panel, and saw the long white fuse, with ribs like a little fish. Pull it, Park said. Do it now. He grabbed the fuse and yanked. The lights in the bay flickered blue, then dead white. The bright field at the mouth of Doc Prime crackled, failed, and went dark. Air rushed past Ryan like a hand grabbing his suit. The mag line went tight. Arya grunted as the force hit her arms. Crates slid an inch. Paper lifted and flew. Crew shouted and grabbed whatever they could. Field down, Park said, breathless. Jump blocked. Rusk swore loud enough to cut the bay noise. Plan 2, he snapped. He pointed and 2 guards hauled the black case toward a side airlock labeled Courier 2. Backup plan. Ryan let the rush fade, then kicked back toward Arya. His shoulder folded with pain and almost made him miss the rail. Arya caught his wrist, with both hands. Her fingers shook from the strain of the line, but her grip was sure. Easy, she said. He landed on the rail and sucked in cold air. Thanks. Her mouth curled once. Balance. Below, the first courier went dark. The second, Courier 2, spun up on silent wheels and slid along a track toward a small hidden field at the side bay. The black case was already inside its hatch, locked in with a net. Park. 60 seconds, I can't drop that side field, different nodes, local only. How many nodes? Ryan asked. 3, 2 on the floor, 1 on the wall by the side. Bay? If you pop the wall node, the field collapses a stitch for a second. Enough to jam it, Park said. Arya pointed. Wall node there. But the path is open space. Ryan looked. The wall node sat on a bracket 10 meters out over empty bay, a high silver box with a simple lever. No ladders, no rails, just a thin, maintenance cable crossing to a light. I'll go, Arya said. You can't, Ryan said. If you slip, you can't catch with your hands. She took the mag line from his belt and clipped it to her own. Then I won't slip. She pushed off in one small move, body straight, arms tight to her sides. She drifted toward the node like a quiet arrow. A guard saw her and raised a rifle. Ryan fired down, fast and precise. The guard's shot missed. Ryan's did not. The rain guard fell to the deck, stunned. Arya reached the node and caught it with her boots. The impact spun her. She pulled the mag line tight, used the spin to swing up, and caught the lever with both feet. The metal screamed. The lever moved a half-inch and stuck. Rusk saw her now. His lips pulled back. He lifted his own pistol and aimed high. Ryan did not think. He launched off the rail, crossed the gap on a bad shoulder and hope, hit Arya's back. With both hands and shoved her feet down on the lever. The lever slammed all the way. The side field popped like glass hit with a hammer, out then back. The courier flickered in the gap and stuck half in, half out, a jam of light and hull. Field stitched, Park said, wild with relief. Courier locked, case trapped. Rusk's shot went off. The bolt tore past Ryan's arm and hit the node box. It smoked and died. The shock kicked Ryan away from the wall. He spun slow in the cold air, out of reach. Arya's hand flashed and caught his sleeve. The mag line sang tight. Again. She pulled him back inch by inch until his fingers found the bracket. Still here, he said, voice thin. Still here, she said back. Below, guards dragged Rusk toward a service door. The public feed from the plaza still ran on wall screens, now showing Doc Prime, the jammed courier, the frantic crew. Voices filled the bay, some angry, some brave. Park. Security units not loyal to Rusk are on the move. 2 squads coming from North Gate, but Rusk just armed something. Pressure. Readout spiking near your level. A flat siren hit their bones. Red light strobed. Sentinel spoke in its calm tone. Warning, ordnance detected on Dock Prime support struts, evacuate. Ryan cursed under his breath. He wired the dock. Arya's eyes went to the courier hatch where the black case sat in its net. If the dock blows, the case burns. All proof gone. Timer? Ryan said. Park answered fast and tight. 90 seconds, maybe less. Ryan and Arya looked at each other. I'll go for the case, she said. You can't carry and climb in time, he said. I'll go. You hold the line. You can't hold the weight with that shoulder, she said. And I cannot heal you. He gave a hard, small smile. Then we don't carry it. We throw it. They moved as one. Arya kicked to the courier. Hatch. Ryan followed on the line. The hatch sealed with a clear lid. Inside, the case sat snug in the net. A simple latch held the lid. Locked, Arya said. Ryan ripped the panel above the hatch and pulled 2 wires free. Sparks bit his knuckles. He jammed them together. The latch popped. The lid slid. Cold air bit their faces. Arya slid half inside, cut the net with a utility blade and shoved the case toward the opening. It stuck on a lip. Push, Ryan said, bracing his boots on the frame. He pressed with his good arm. The case came free and drifted. Park, Ryan said. Open the trash eject for Bay 2. The little square near us. Are you insane? Park said. That port leads to the dump pipe. That pipe includes the coolant bath, Ryan said. It'll kill any burn in the core. Open it on my count. He looked at Arya. She nodded once. 3, 2, 1. Park. Hit the control. A small square port iris opened in the wall and air hissed at once. The case drifted that way. It missed by a foot. Arya flicked the mag line with one hand and tapped the case with her toe. A clean bank shot. The case slid into the square and vanished. Port closed, Park said. Core in coolant. It's cold. We have the proof. The siren got louder. The deck shuddered under them. 40 seconds, Park said. Get out of there. Rusk reached the service door with 2 guards. He looked back once at the jammed ship and the empty slot where the case had been. His face changed. Not cold. Not calm. Angry. He raised his pistol at the wall node where Arya hung. Ryan pushed off without thinking. He hit Arya and spun her behind. The bracket. The bolt hit his side. Heat tore through his ribs. He gripped the bracket with numb fingers and held on. Arya grabbed his vest with both hands. Ryan, she said, voice breaking for the first time. Look at me. He did. His eyes were clear. Rule 9, he said, half a laugh, half a breath. She pulled him in hard and kicked them both toward the rail. They hit, clamped, slid, and stopped. Below, the first of the loyal security squads burst into Dock Prime. Shouts rose. Rusk vanished through the service door. The bay shook again. 20 seconds, Park said. Move. Ryan and Arya hauled themselves down the ladder, boots scraping, hands locked. As the door slid, Arya looked at his side. Blood soaked his shirt again. She set her hand above the wound by reflex and stopped an inch short. Her fingers trembled. Not H. The dock stopped shaking, but the station did not rest. Fire teams rushed by with foam tanks. Security squads split and moved in pairs. Overhead, the calm voice of Sentinel repeated the same line. Warning cleared. Resume muster routes. Ryan sat with his back to a bulkhead, one hand pressed to the hot pain in his side. Arya knelt in front of him, breathing hard, her palms hovering a finger above the wound. She did not touch yet. Park jogged up, face set. The coolant bath froze the relay core solid. We have the proof. Rusk is running for the command core. He still controls too many doors. Ryan pushed himself up. His legs held. Then we go to the core. Arya looked at his shirt. Wet with blood again. You cannot run like this. I can for one more door, he said. Save your hands. They moved. The path to the command ring was a circle of blue-lit halls and tight ladders. Park guided them by comm. I'm using drill flags to open a route. Rusk is trying to lock behind him. I'm racing him. Race faster, Ryan said. 2 guards loyal to Rusk stepped into a hall with tasers raised. Arya slid to the wall and took the first taser with the aluminum guide stick, turning the shot into the bulkhead. Ryan shoulder-checked the second guard and pinned him. Park flashed a badge code on a wall panel. The panel chimed and glowed green. The guards froze, surprised that the station itself had just denied them. "Keep going," Park said. "Rusk is almost there." They came to the last door, command core, thick, round, no windows. A small hand strip sat beside it. Ryan glanced at Arya. She shook her head at once. "I won't risk your rule with my print." "Not asking for that," he said. He popped the bottom plate and found the old fishbone fuse, another relic. He smiled without humor. Whoever built this station liked simple parts. He pulled the fuse halfway. The lights around the door went amber. Sentinel spoke, puzzled. "Core and maintenance. Fire wrote priority. Opening low-hazard access." The door rolled aside 2 feet. It would not open more. It was enough. They slipped in. The core was cold and bright, like standing inside a glass tree. Fiber bundles ran up the walls and across the ceiling. In the middle stood a ring console and a tall black pillar with Sentinel's pale logo pulsing on it. Rusk was there with 2 guards and Marakeen, her ankle taped, face set and calm behind a new half-mask. Rusk turned when the door slid. "You should have stayed on the dock," he said. His voice was smooth but tight at the edges. "Captain Hale, alien healer, Lieutenant Park on my system. All of you, stand down." Ryan shook his head. "No." Park slipped to a side console and plugged in her tablet. Her fingers moved. "Beginning live relay," she whispered. Rusk nodded to Keen. "Mute them. Kill their feed." Keen's hands danced. "Trying," she said. Someone patched muster channels through emergency logs. If I cut one, the other mirrors. Arya stepped forward 1 pace, empty hands raised. "No weapons." "Your hands are weapons," Rusk said. "You break order. You make weak men doubt strong orders." "Strong orders try to vent a wounded deck," Ryan said. Rusk ignored that. He faced the pillar. "Sentinel, custody protocol Delta. Detain the alien. Isolate the traitors. Purge non-compliant logs." The pillar's light pulsed once. "Denied," Sentinel said. Rusk's head snapped back. "Repeat command." "Denied," Sentinel said again. Same tone. "Safety briefing active. Chain of custody evidence present." Park smiled without looking up. He's hearing his own rules. Ryan lifted the small, cold case tag Park had clipped to his vest, the scanner token for the frozen core. "Sentinel, confirm evidence." "Confirmed," Sentinel said. "Inert relay core retrieved from Dock Prime. Coolant index valid. Chain of custody recorded to muster logs." Keen stared at the token like it had bitten her. She reached under the console for something. Arya's eyes flicked down and saw the smooth shape of a flashpod in Keen's palm. "Don't," Arya said quietly. Keen threw it anyway. White light burst. Rusk moved at the same time, fast for a man who wore rank. He drew a pistol. The guards raised tasers. Ryan didn't aim for Rusk. He fired at the ceiling privacy shutters. The round hit the first joint. Park hit a key. The shutters locked open instead of closed. The blinding flash faded. The core stayed on camera. Across the station, in every ward still watching, the view did not die. Rusk swore, louder now. "Sentinel, remove public access." "Denied," Sentinel said. "Safety briefing active." Park spoke into the open mic, voice steady. "Play Hydrodeck. Play Dock Prime. Play Echo Black Relay Trace." Every screen, around the ring lit with the story. The copied handprint with a red overlay, the camera loops, the Raven tag, the jammed courier, the coolant case, the pressure spikes on the dock. One line after another, Rusk looked smaller in that light. Keen lunged for the pillar. Arya moved, not to heal, not to blast, but to balance. She caught Keen's wrist with both hands, turned her hips, and used the woman's own rush to lay her flat on the deck. The flashpod rolled away and clinked under a console. One guard charged Ryan. Ryan stepped inside the grab and wrapped the guard's arm. Pain hit his ribs like a knife. He held on until Park slapped an emergency clamp on the guard's wrist. The clamp hardened. The guard stopped fighting, shocked. Rusk raised his pistol at Arya. Ryan stepped between them without thinking. The report was sharp. The bolt hit the pillar beside his head and split the black surface. The logo flickered. Sentinel's voice dropped half a tone. "Warning, structural hazard, Commandant, holster weapon." Rusk did not holster it. Arya's voice carried, low and soft and very clear. "Sentinel, state tamper record for hydrodeck." Hydrodeck. Line cut by Maintenance Unit M47 under Handler Archivist, Sentinel said. Alarm loop and purge attempt traced to Command Analyst Mara Keen. Dock field failure and ordnance arming traced to Commander Rusk. Privilege review initiated. Rusk's face went white with rage. "You are a tool." He hissed at the pillar. "You follow command." "I follow rules," Sentinel said. "Life safety beats security." 3 words, old and simple, moved through the room like a quiet tide. Doors opened behind Ryan. 2 security squads in standard armor swept in. Not Rusk's hand-picked men, but regulars led by a sergeant with a clean bandage across his neck. He had been at Hydrodeck. He had seen the feed. He pointed at Rusk. "Commander, drop the weapon." Rusk looked at the gun, then at Ryan, then at Arya. For a second, he almost smiled. Then he aimed again, at Arya's chest. Ryan did not have time to raise his pistol. He did the only thing left. He stepped closer and pushed Arya aside with his good shoulder. The bolt hit him high, knocking him back into the console. He slid down the pillar to his knees. Arya caught him before he fell flat. The world narrowed, to her hands under his head and the loud drum of his breathing. His eyes stayed open, focused on her face. "Don't," he said, as she moved to touch the wound. "Your hands." "My hands are mine," she whispered. "And I choose where they go." She pressed her palm to his ribs. The silver light rose, not bright and proud, but soft and steady, like warm rain on dry stone. It sank into torn muscle and burned edges. Heat eased. The panic air in Ryan's lungs loosened. Pain unknotted. The bleeding slowed, then stopped. The light dimmed. Her shoulders sagged with the cost. Across the room, 2 guards stepped in and took Rusk's pistol. Keen tried to run and hit 3 tasers at once. She dropped and stayed down. Sentinel spoke in its calm tone, a judge that did not shout. "Command privileges for Rusk suspended pending tribunal. Analyst Keen in custody. Broadcast of evidence to ward logs complete." The sergeant looked at Ryan and Arya. He did not salute. He nodded like a man who had decided something important. "We saw the hydro feed," he said. "We saw the dock. The station stands with the rules." Park exhaled shakily and sat on the floor beside them. "It's done." Arya kept one hand on Ryan's chest until his breath came easy again. Her other hand trembled in her lap. She stared at the place where her light had gone into him, as if surprised it had obeyed her. Ryan found a small smile. "You healed everyone but me," he said, voice rough, "until I saved your life." Arya's mouth lifted, tired and real. "No," she said. "I healed everyone I could. I saved you for when it mattered most." She looked up at the pillar. "Sentinel, add a note to your rules." "Listening," Sentinel said. "Strength without mercy breaks," Arya said. "Mercy with rules holds." "Logged," Sentinel said. Park stood and offered Arya a hand. "Med teams are on the way. We'll get you both to real beds." Arya helped Ryan to his feet, slow and careful. He leaned on her without shame. The sergeant cleared the room. The loud parts of the station grew quiet again. Fire whistles, stretcher wheels, distant voices, ordinary sounds after a long, bad storm. At the door, Ryan paused and looked back at the pillar, the guards, the broken mask on the floor. Then he looked at Arya. "Red Doc," he said. "We will talk about it, all the way. No more half stories." Her eyes were steady. "We will." They stepped out together, not fast, not slow, just sure. The door rolled shut. The lights in the core steadied. And in the halls beyond, People who had watched a feed and heard old rules said them again, as if tasting them for the first time. Life safety beats security. Order wins nothing without truth. A human's hand once refused held an alien steady as they walked, and the station, finally, felt like it belonged to both of them.